Okay, guys. Um, Sorry about the last video cutting off. I already told you guys like my storage space on my phone is kind of low, so until I get like a SIM card or something, uh, I gotta just record as much as I can, and then um, upload that, delete the video, and then make another one. But anyway, I think I was talking about Venusaur and how it's better competitively and it's faster than I realized it could be or whatever. So it does pretty good depending on which move sets and things that you do with it or that you use with it. So or choose to use with it. So I've seen some solid move sets that allow him or Venusaur to be pretty good competitively. Another Flapple VMAX. That's two. So today we've gotten so far two Flapple VMAXs. One from the ETB, the Elite Trainer box, and then one from the booster box. And now we have let's count. So this is from the Elite Trainer box. We got one pull out of that. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is what the average normally would be out of a booster box. And we still have 4 packs. So if we get any more pulls, then we beat the average. And that's a W. I think it's still kind of a W. But considering the pulls that we got today, I say, well, like the Tyranitar, I'll say these 3 pulls right here, this Tapu Koko Rainbow, the Tyranitar, and then the Urshifu VMAX are the best pulls. And then the other 3, this 2 Cricketoons, this Flapple VMAX, and then this Empoleon, it's all right, but those other 3 right here are the best pulls out of the box so far. So let's finish it up. But yeah, competitively, I think I was saying my favorite starter was the Charmander line, or one of my favorite starters are the Charmander line, and then the Kanto starters are like pretty much some of my favorites. Uh, but outside of the Gen 1 starters, um, it's pretty complicated because I think out of the evolutions that get to be the most viable competitively, it's hard to really quantify which ones. Like, because if you go with like the Mudkip line, competitively, that's one of the best evolution lines in the game when it comes to just the diversity of the typing when it comes to the groundwater type. Um, and in that gen, I'm not even sure if there was really any competition. You had Sceptile, I think, in that gen, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. And then you had Blaziken, if I'm not mistaken. So Blaziken for sure when you Mega Evolve is one of the most broken Pokemon in the game. So I liked Blaziken. My first time playing that gen, I think, which would be Gen 3, if I'm not mistaken, because Gen 2 is Totodile, Cyndaquil, and Chikorita, or something like that. And in that gen, I chose Trico. But later on, everybody found out that the best starter probably was the Blaziken one, because of the fact that if you get that hidden abilities, oh my goodness, I have never even seen this card before. This is like, I guess, a full art, unless it's an alternate art, because I have the promo card. I have 4 promo cards of this card. I never had pulled the normal version of the card, but the normal looks different, or it looks similar to the promo. And then I don't know if what other versions of this card, like the artwork looks like, but for the way that it looks, it kind of reminds me of either a full art or alternate art. So I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to look into it, but I'll let you guys know when I get a chance. But man, so that's another pull out of the booster box. So we did above average. So I guess we really got a W on this box, the first booster box. We pulled a rainbow rare. We pulled an alternate art Victini. And as a competitive card, I'll say that it's better than the other Victini that came out in not really sure if it was Chilling Reign, but if it was Chilling Reign, that Victini is not as popular as the one that I just pulled. All right, guys, we're gonna get to this next booster box. And sorry for the background commentary. That's my niece over there. So yeah, what else did I was talking about? I think we were talking about starter Pokemon. I think I see something glistening, y'all. Let's see what it is. Oh, baby. Now this is a card. Man, this is definitely one of the cards that I wanted to pull. Because Victini V Max is going to be, or is, a super important I guess I could say card to build around, considering the fact that the max victory attack only needs 1 fire energy and then any other energy. And if your Pokemon is a V or V max, then it does 120 more damage to it. So 220 without any stat boosts or any kind of tool cards or anything to increase the damage. So, man, like, since we're in like the VMAX format right now, where everything is V's and VMAXs and stuff like that, this card is gonna be really good to have. So we just pulled the alternate art V, And now we got the Victini VMAX. That's pretty good. So this is the good start to the second box. So yeah, back to the starters. Um, Gen 2, I started out with Chikorita because I was just gonna follow the trend, or not Chikorita, Torchic, because I was gonna follow the trend of fire types. But then I just didn't like the design of Torchic at the time because I'm like, it's just a little chicken. So you gonna go from Charizard, who's a real like a dinosaur, to just a chicken. So when I found out that Trico turns into like a lizard, I decided to go with him. And so I like Sceptile, and I think Sceptile is still pretty solid. He's a strong Pokemon. Uh, he has high attack damage and all that, and I like his design. But Blaziken as a Pokemon is just a better Pokemon. It has the advantage in typing. The speed boost ability is just on in a league of its own. Speed boost is one of my favorite abilities, but so many people in the Pokemon community, they don't like speed boost. And so speed boost kind of got taken out of the competitive game for a while, and it kind of made me really frustrated because like Pokemon has so many different things in the format that I feel like people just need to learn how to adapt and play with. Because like when I was playing, I always used to get annoyed with people who would use what's that guy's name, Sableye, Mega Sableye, with the magic bounce, and then he would just use like Will-O-Wisp or something, and then he would just hide behind like the magic bounce, and they would always put him in so you couldn't set up any kind of terrain, um, like particles or whatever you call it, like stealth rocks or any kind of status effects or anything. He would just stall. They would stall with him, and I think they would have like Chansey or Blissey or other kind of Pokemon in that team, and so I had to adapt to it, and I learned how to play against it. Even though it just takes only a few turns for you to mess up. If you mess up a few times, then it could cost you the whole game. But I adjusted to that, and most people didn't seem to have any issues with it. But I didn't like that. But I learned how to play with it. And so I feel like by people just complaining like, oh, speed boost is too bad or too broken and too this and that, and then they take it out of the game, that kind of takes away from, being able to learn and try to adapt to the game. So now, okay, Mimikyu V, I have one of these. Now I have to kind of make a whole different style of form of team. When I had a perfect team competitively before Gen 8 or 7 or 8, in my Gen 6 team, my team was solid. I never really played in the Uber tiers, but I played in the OU for the most part. And so my OU team was pretty good. I had Manaphy, Breloom, Mega Scizor, a Cresselia. I had a Claydol, and then I had a Scolipede with the speed boost baton pass ability. And that was another thing that they got mad about. A lot of people got mad about baton passing. So they took away two of my favorite abilities in the game: a baton passing, speed boosting Pokemon. people didn't like that. And it's kind of messed up because there's counters to that. Like a lot of all you have to do to counter a speed boosting team is to use Trick Room or something like that to slow all your slower Pokemon can go ahead of the faster Pokemon on the field. So that kind of made me a little annoyed. Okay, this is the second time I pulled this card. And this is the alternate art. So I think this is solid because right now these aren't really selling for super crazy amounts, but I think eventually these will go up in value. So since I have two, I think I'll be able to sell one of them at some point. So far, let's see. So out of this second pack, we have 3 pulls so far. Our second box. Okay, let's keep going. Sorry for my stuffy nose. But yeah, so anyway, I kind of stopped playing Pokemon Showdown. That's where I was playing most of my competitive game on Smogon or whatever it's on. I think it's Smogon or something like that. And I was playing Pokemon Showdown, and so I still can go play my Gen 6 team if I really wanted to, but lately I just been on the Poke MMO. But I think they even banned speed boosts for Gen 6 too. And so that's one of the reasons why I quit playing. Because it's like, once you build a solid team, and then you have your strategy already made, and you were playing with it for such a long time, and then all of a sudden everything since Sword and Shield, maybe even Sun and Moon happened, where they just started banning a lot of different abilities, or they took certain moves out of the game. So then the whole format changed. I just wasn't really, I didn't have the patience to create a whole new team, because like I like to be authentic and original, and it seems like once the formats change, everybody just has about the same Pokemon. Like I like to have variety, and I like to counter what the most popular people play with, because it seems like one person plays a certain card and everybody has the same thing, and it's like there's nothing wrong with it, but I don't want to be predictable, because if I come in to the game with the same Pokemon that everybody else has, then somebody smarter is going to just bring a Pokemon that counters that Pokemon. And so I was just like, I could follow what other people are doing or try to counter what those people are doing, but it's a little bit more challenging, because if you do try to counter, then you're still at a disadvantage, because most likely the person that you're trying to counter has the more just the more easier Pokemon to use, because if they're popular, then they most likely are easy to use, or they just have so many advantages that it'll take you a little bit more time for you to set up or something like that. And then by the time you set up, you're at a disadvantage, and it could just be like one play that could cost you the game. So back in Gen 6, when I was really competitive and I was going up the ladder, I had the team that I told you with the Mega Scizor as my mega, because you only can have like one Pokemon that can Mega Evolve, or at least you only can Mega Evolve one Pokemon per match. So with Mega Scizor, he has one of the highest base attack damage in the game. And then he's part steel and bug, even though he's 4 times weak to fire, because of my baton pass speed boost with the right IVs and EV, I guess um when you give them the right IV EV stat, what do you call it? What am I trying to say? When you distribute the stats properly, then he becomes like a threat way more than he would be if he just was on his base stat level. Because basically what I would do, and the reason why I had a Claydol is because Claydol is one of the only Pokemon that is ground psychic type. But I don't even think that his typing was that. Well, one reason why one of the things of his typing was important was the ground, was because Pokemon in Gen 6 used to be able to volt switch. And so to counter volt switching Pokemon, they can't volt switch on a ground type, and Claydol was a ground type. So if I started, oh my goodness, look at this here, boy. This is a golden Houndoom single strike, and this is one of the good cards in the deck in the set. So, man, so far we are really doing great today. We already have 4 pools in pack or in box 2, and that is definitely one of the chase cards in the set. Even though it's not like a V or V Max, but it's a golden card. So back to what I was saying. Claydol, he counters Volt Switch, Thunder Wave, and I really only had Claydol in there as he was there to basically set up the game. And that was only if depending on my matchup, I would be able to put him in there to take a hit. And then whether I sped boost him to make him faster or not, he had the ability levitate, so he couldn't get hit by earthquake or anything like that unless he came up against like a mold breaker, Excadrill, or something with mold breaker and earthquake or something like that. So he couldn't get hit by ground attacks. He couldn't get hit by electric attacks. And I put everything, I think, in speed and what else did I put it in? Speed and maybe either speed and defense, because the only attacking move he had was rapid spin. So he had rapid spin to get rid of hazards. Then I gave him toxic to poison any really strong or just anything that necessarily would have been an issue that was susceptible to the poison. And then I had to move skill swap, and also I gave him a focus sash, because when you go up against Pokemon like Talonflame with the Gale Wings ability, then I could skill swap it in the beginning of the game, because I had like 3 Pokemon maybe that were vulnerable to Talonflame for sure, because Talonflame is a fire flying type. And if I had Breloom in, Breloom needed a focus sash because he's a grass type, grass fighting. Then you had Scizor, who's bug steel type, so he's 4 times weak to fire, and Talonflame was definitely one of the biggest threats to my team. So I always put my Claydol in so he can skill swap and take away Talonflame's Gale Wing ability, because all Talonflame has to do is set up with either bulk up to get its defense and attack stats boosted, and then with Gale Wings he could just Brave Bird or do like I think there's like a flame what's that fire move? I forgot. Man, it was like one of those heavy damage flame tackle moves or something like that. I can't remember the name, but it was like, I think, a base 120 attack damage, and that's without even stat boosting with bulk up, and then it can roost so it'll heal all the damage after doing significant damage to itself, or if it took a lot of damage to itself. So that's why I used to have Toxic, because for him, Claydol with a Focus Sash would skill swap. So after I skill swap the Gale Wings, if it stays in and tries to hit me, then my Focus Sash will take the damage, and then on the next turn I would Toxic it, so that it would have to be on the timer. And then when it was on the timer, since it doesn't have Gale Wings anymore, I would just put in Scolipede, and then Scolipede would come in with the speed boost ability. And Scolipede, he doesn't have any attacking moves. All he can do is Toxic, Substitute, Baton Pass, and Protect. So he was basically in there to stall and then Baton Pass my speed boost. So I would just come in, and if Talonflame or somebody would stay in, like maybe who's that? Who's the one? Thunderous or Landorus. Landorus was a complicated person to deal with too, because he was a flying ground type with Intimidate. So sometimes I would do the same thing with, because he sometimes could put Stealth Rocks up too. So similar to the same concept. Depending on who it was, I would Toxic him, and then I would bring Scolipede in if I didn't start with Scolipede, and then they would be Toxic. And since I have speed boost, I put up the Protect. So that's one turn where my opponent is taking Toxic damage. So whatever they're doing, whether they try to attack, if they try to attack, then they wasted a turn because I Protect. Then that gives me one turn of speed boost. So I just probably got faster than them just by that one turn, because I put a lot of investment in, or at least partially, maybe half of the investment in speed or something like that. A lot of the investment in defense. And and then I can't remember if I put some in, maybe a little bit in special defense, but basically it could take a lot of physical damage, and then I gave it like a black sludge or something like that, to where it would just heal itself behind the substitute. And so, wow, if I took any damage, then I'm healing myself, because of course I'm going to take damage if I set up a substitute. So I'm still healing. I'm getting speed. I'm healing behind the substitute if I get my substitute up. But that's definitely one thing that you want to do, is get a sub up. So my opponent is attacking. He's trying to damage me, but if I protect it the first turn, then that's one turn of speed boost. Then the next turn, substitute, if they don't know that I'm going to sub. So they, depending on if they decide to stay in or not, they might realize that I have a sub. But if they do, they attack into the sub, so I don't take damage. So that's 2 turns of speed boost. And then my Black Sludge heals me again. And then I could protect again. So that's 3 turns of speed boost while they're taking toxic damage and slowly basically killing themselves. And so they have to either decide to stay in or they can retreat depending on how important that Pokemon is to their strategy. But by the time they decide to either retreat or stay in, I have the option to either go into another substitute, which if they didn't attack into and they switched out, then I'm behind a substitute and I can choose to either protect again and get 1 more turn of speed boost, which would help Scizor significantly because Scizor is like really slow. And then Breloom, if you let him get it, he's kind of slow too. Cresselia is kind of slow, but she's, you know, decent speed. And then you got Manaphy, who isn't the fastest either. So if you let any of those Pokemon get speed boosted, Manaphy definitely with 2 tail glows, even with 1 tail glow, can sweep a whole team. Then you got Breloom because he has the Spore ability and he has some of the highest base attack in the game. If you let him get behind the substitute and he has Spore, so if the next Pokemon that you bring out comes out Spore, is 100% able to put the Pokemon to sleep. Depending on who it is, because I don't know, some abilities maybe can counter that, but most of the time, if you set up a Spore, any Pokemon that's out is going to sleep automatically. And depending on how many turns they're sleeping, that gives me the opportunity to Swords Dance. So I'm Swords Dancing with a Breloom, and if there's no hazards on the field, then I still keep my Focus Sash intact. So I'm behind the substitute with... It depends on how many speed boosts that I already baton passed to myself. Then a Pokemon just might be sleep or whatever. And then I'm Sword Dancing. And Breloom doesn't even need that many Swords Dance. But if I get the opportunity to Swords Dance 3 times, then I max out my attack power. And you could do that with Scizor too. But I'm going to just use Breloom. So you give him Swords Dance.